4 o'clock here. It is 6 o'clock in Florida, and these are live pictures. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge that connects lower Tampa Bay to St. Petersburg is closed, of course, right now. That's because of Hurricane Ian. Ian officially making landfall about 3 hours ago on the west coast of Florida, just west of Fort Myers. The eye wall described as extremely dangerous. Taking a look at the radar now, you can see Ian making progress now, working inland just north of Fort Myers near Punta Gorda, and it is continuing to pack a wallop, arriving as a heavy Category 4 storm. The video from Fort Myers this afternoon showing the smashing winds hitting power lines and sparks flying. The woman who shot this says this was at her home at about 1 o'clock in Florida. She said her home was left without power even after the sparks had stopped. And all across the state, nearly 1 million people are dealing with power outages.
We have line workers and line men and line women coming from 27 other states. They're positioned at 24 different locations throughout the state.
We can really see those 12 to 18 feet of storm surge inundation above ground level. That's 3 times as tall as I am. So that's really an unsurvivable circumstance.
It's unbelievable. They knew it was coming, although it did change just a little bit in its movement and really impacting the entire state. Our Chris Bianchi right now is in Tampa. He's joining us now, and we're trying to get the conditions and an update from him.
Yeah, Chris, tell us what you're seeing, what you're feeling. The storm to the south of you, but it's hitting all of Florida right now.
Yeah, hey, Kim. Hey, Tom. And checking in here from Tampa. The worst of the storm, the center of the storm is about 75 miles due south of me. The eye wall, which is the ring that goes around the storm, usually the worst part of it, about 40 or 50 miles away from where I'm standing. And within the last 10 minutes, I would say we've had a couple of gusts here that have been in the neighborhood of about hurricane force, about 75 to perhaps 80 miles an hour. And you can tell that it's pretty rough at this point as is, and we're still seeing these pretty nasty gusts getting up again into that 75, 80 mile an hour range, despite the fact that, again, that eye wall still about 45, 50 miles away to my south, and the center of the storm about 75 miles away. Now, Fort Myers, Naples, you were talking about that. That is the southwest part of the state, and that part of the state took the brunt of Ian. And here in Tampa, we are still getting, obviously, a pretty good blow from this storm. You can see it right behind me. Starting to see a lot of power outages in this area, a lot of flooding as well. But fortunately for Tampa specifically, here we didn't get the big storm surge that was kind of feared about 2 days ago. Here in Tampa, we've mostly dodged that specific bullet, but the worst is still yet to come here. The core of the center of the storm about to head our way here as we head overnight tonight and into early tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's far from over, and when we think about it, there are a lot of people that were expecting it. A lot of things have been changed in Florida to make things stronger, but still plenty of people that are trying to ride it out.
Chris, we appreciate your coverage. Chris, of course, a big part of 9 News Plus, and if you're looking for continuous coverage of Hurricane Ian, 9 News Plus is the place for you. It's also streaming coverage from our sister station in Tampa with all the news right there. Of course, our weather here very different. Blue skies, puffy clouds, warm weather. Kathy's with us. And Kathy, we talked about that storm traveling a little further south. That's when we always look at those spaghetti models, and we always wonder which strand of spaghetti the storm will take.
So do we, as meteorologists, wonder which strand that storm will take. The forecasting on this storm has really been tremendous out of the National Hurricane Center from 5 days ago. It's really amazing if you go back and look at the original forecast for Ian before it even made landfall in Cuba. It's unbelievable. But this is a storm that we're going to be looking at as more of a marathon. This is not a sprint. Even though this storm has made landfall at 3:05, as you mentioned, this system is moving onshore. The winds around the outer edge of it are where we're seeing. I checked Englewood, Florida last hour, 100-mile-per-hour winds, 6 inches of rain in about 4 hours' time. That outer band of that eye wall, as this whole system moves inland, is going to continue to produce the threat of isolated tornadoes, heavy flooding rainfall, and they're still dealing with the remnants of the storm surge that continues to move inland. Hurricane Ian made landfall at 3:05 at KUSA, Florida. Winds to 150 miles per hour with a 940 millibar pressure, very low. Lower the pressure, higher the winds, and that's really going to be a big part of the story tonight. Heavy flooding rainfall now as the system winds its way out of Punta Gorda, out of Fort Myers, out of Englewood, Venice, and heads for Orlando, possibly moving back offshore into the Atlantic, regaining strength and possibly moving onshore again. Still, a Category 4 storm, winds coming down to 130 miles per hour, moving inland. It will weaken to a Category 1, taking aim at Orlando, moving inland, spreading that heavy rain and flood threat across the Florida Peninsula and up into the Carolinas as we move through the next 24 hours. Around here, our weather is so quiet. It's a beautiful fall day. Tom, those fair weather cumulus clouds, those puffy clouds you like so much, they'll be with us again tomorrow, and eventually those clouds will bring us rain probably by the end of the week. But today, above average highs in the mid 80s, and we're watching a few thunderstorms over the Four Corners area and over southern Colorado, but it really doesn't look like we're going to see any of that moisture moving here into the metro area. So a pleasant evening here in Colorado and along the Front Range and in Maine weather. Another update on Ian, and we're going to tell you when the rain arrives in Denver with the extended forecast.
The attorney for the woman who was hit by a train while detained in a police unit is revealing that there will be a lawsuit filed soon. It was just an hour ago. Had a chance to speak with that lawyer about the incident that's made national, even international news.
The 20-year-old woman survived and is home with numerous broken bones. State investigators are looking into how this happened near Fort Lupton nearly 2 weeks ago. Investigative reporter Jeremy Hahola is joining us now. First obtained the video that shows that actual collision, and now you're bringing us what comes next in this case. As we mentioned before, this video is jarring.
Yeah, if you want to turn away, you may want to turn away right now. This young woman is dealing with substantial physical and emotional injuries, according to her attorney. And today he told us he already took the legal steps to move forward with a potential lawsuit. He has already sent a legal notice to those agencies, putting them on notice, an official notice, that a lawsuit is coming their way. This is an incident that happened September 17th, Friday night, about an hour's drive north of Denver. Police were pulling over a woman in a pickup truck. Her name is Yareni Rios Gonzalez. Officers stopped her because they believed she was a suspect in a road rage incident with a gun. The Platteville police officer parked his cruiser on the tracks. A Fort Lupton police officer helped with the stop. They cuffed her, put her in the back of the cruiser parked on the tracks, and then shortly after that, a freight train collided with Rios Gonzalez in the police car. And now those officers have received widespread scrutiny for their behavior. I asked her attorney what he thinks should happen to them.
You're responsible for that person when you have them in custody. And they just failed at their responsibility.
Our legal experts who have reviewed this case believe that there's potential grounds for some of these officers to face criminal charges in this case. Do you believe that they should face criminal charges?
Yes, I believe there should be an investigation, and if that's what the investigation bears out, then yes. I mean, I don't think police officers are any different than a normal citizen in their responsibility.
Rios Gonzalez is back home with 9 broken ribs, a fractured sternum, broken leg, and numerous other injuries to her head and back. In the meantime, about that road rage incident, the Weld County District Attorney has received a case from Fort Lupton Police, and they are reviewing that case to see if charges should be filed against her in that road rage aspect of the case. In the meantime, Rios Gonzalez is a TSA agent. She is a mother. And right now, she has a long road of recovery ahead of her in the next many months, many years.
Are the two cases purely separate? The road rage case and the actual incident with her being hit by the train?
Yeah.
There will not be any weaving of that as far as consideration of charges?
No, you have Colorado Bureau of Investigation looking at the collision and what happened to her great bodily harm. And then you have the Fort Lupton Police looking at the road rage case.
Road rage incident and what happened that led them to her.
That precipitated the stop. So it's potentially that she could be charged with the felony in that road rage case, but we'll see if that happens.
Yeah, there's still a lot more to.
Yeah.
And every time we see it, I mean, she's alive.
It's remarkable that she's alive.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jeremy.
Well, the governor of Florida famously flew 50 migrants to Martha's Vineyard this summer. Now, Colorado's mountain towns think that they might be next. This week, Colorado Senator John Hickenlooper's office reached out offering to help in case something similar were to happen in a place like Aspen or Vail or Breckenridge. And
leaders in those areas say they've begun discussions as to how they're going to prepare. They tell our Cole Sullivan they don't have any reason it's going to happen anytime soon, but they know Colorado could become a target. Cole?
Kim, Summit County says the heads up from Senator Hickenlooper this week came as a surprise, but now they need to figure out what to do if what happened in Martha's Vineyard happens there. Colorado's mountain towns think they could be next. After folks on Martha's Vineyard scrambled to help 50 migrants earlier this month, Eagle, Pitkin, and Summit counties, home to Vail, Aspen, and Breckenridge, all say they've started discussing what to do.
The first thing that went through my head is how can we help if that happens?
How to help if Republican governors in Texas or Florida send a plane of migrants to the Rockies.
So I have all the faith in the world that if this were to happen, we could handle it.
Brianne Snow runs Summit County's social service nonprofit. She says finding places to house people won't be easy.
Shelter will be the biggest hurdle, obstacle in trying to make sure that these folks are taken care of just because of our lack of housing inventory up here in the mountains.
The migrants will likely need coats and gloves, too.
Some people don't react well to altitude here, and the weather can change.
In Eagle County, the emergency manager has started discussing how to respond if it happens in Vail. And in Pitkin, the county manager says Aspen could make his community a target for the Southern governors.
Is it an impending emergency? I don't think so.
The spokesperson for Summit County says discussions are focused on how to help, not the national politics that created the emergency.
I do believe that people would come together to help families and individuals in need, regardless of what situation they're in or where they came from.
Senator Hickenlooper's office tells me they reached out proactively to offer to help. The press secretary says he doesn't have any inside information about an impending relocation of migrants right now.
But they're talking about it, just in case.
Something to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and they're
Cole.
concerned that Colorado could be a target.
All right.
Thank you. There are new questions today about the hiring practices at one of Colorado's most prominent youth soccer clubs.
Yeah, two of the club's employees, a coach and a former coach, were arrested on child pornography charges just in the past 2 months. 9 News Crime and Justice reporter Matt Jablow spoke with the father of a former player who said change at the club is necessary.
The Real Colorado Soccer Club has a reputation as one of the top youth soccer organizations in the country. Their website brags of 6 national championships, 88 national youth team members, more than 1,000 athletic scholars, and more than 5,000 total players, including Mike Stassi's daughter, who played for the club until 2019.
They turn out some of the top players around the country.
Recently, however, Real Colorado has made news not for the accomplishments of its players, but for the alleged crimes of 2 of its employees.
I mean, it's absolute shock.
On Tuesday, after receiving a tip that child pornography had been shared through social media, the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Department announced the arrest of Alberto Limas Villers on charges of sexual exploitation of a child. Limas Villers is a coach at Real Colorado, though he has now been suspended. His arrest comes 2 months after sheriff's deputies arrested Bud Harper, an age coordinator and a former coach at Real, also on child pornography charges.
To hear about that going on behind the scenes, that's scary.
Mike Stassi's daughter played for Harper 3 years ago, her last year with Real Colorado.
I mean, honestly, I didn't have a great impression of him. There wasn't a whole lot of interaction.
Stassi says the charges against the 2 coaches are deeply disturbing, and he's hoping they'll bring about major changes in the way Real screens its employees before they're hired and evaluates them afterwards.
And the fact that you see some of this coming out, it makes me question even more some of what is going on and how these teams vet them, do background checks, do training, and then hold accountable.
In a written statement, Real Colorado said they conducted background checks on both coaches and there were no red flags with either of them. They also said the conduct in question did not occur in the presence of Real players or families. Kim and Tom.
You can understand it's concerning, though, for parents.
Oh,
you hear
yeah.
this and you're thinking, are you serious? Because this is a very well-known soccer club. So, all right. Thank you, Matt.
Of course, we are continuing to monitor Hurricane Ian. We'll have any updates as they do come into the newsroom.
Plus, a new drug that could be a game changer for Alzheimer's patients. We're talking with our local Alzheimer's Association about the potential.
And there's Empower Field right now. Our Broncos insider Mike Kliss is coming up next to talk about Raider Week.
Ooh, yeah.